All right, welcome everyone to the February 2022 meeting of IPMS London. I'm your host and cruise director. Not really, but you know. Let's see here. Just got to adjust some options here. And then we'll get going. Lots of goodies tonight, hopefully. All right, so I am now sharing my PowerPoint. You should all be seeing that. Hopefully.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. A little bit of business. Good to see everyone here, including a few faces we haven't seen in a while. Always good to know you guys are still alive. Okay, there's the agenda. Normal Zoom etiquette, if you're doing something noisy or, just make sure you mute. Okay, so we'll actually start with Carrie with the IPMS Canada news.
Okay, just a couple of items. A couple of weeks ago, last week, we had our executive meeting, and there was a couple of issues I just want to bring to the chapter. One was the upcoming decal sheet. We're still looking for ideas. So if anybody has an idea for decals, please send them along to either myself or go through the IPMS Canada website and send an email that way. There's only a couple of requirements. One is that it should be a Canadian subject. Doesn't necessarily have to be military. It can be civil aviation. It can be automobiles, trucks, any space-related item that Canada participated in, not necessarily manufactured. And the other thing is that if you're going to send along an idea, it would be ideal if you could also send along photographs, research information, that kind of thing. Although we're prepared to do a little bit of research, we can't do it all. So that's the one item. The second item is, it's that time of year where we are renewing the chapter charters. I'm proud to announce that IPMS London is the first to submit theirs. So all is good on that regard. And this is really just a governance issue where we try to stay on top of what's happening with the chapters. We're not delving into looking for any secrets or whatever. We're just trying to get an idea of how the chapters are doing. And in fact, just as a matter of interest, I'm not going to name which ones, but we have heard of 3 chapters that are no longer in existence. You'll find out who they are your next visit to the IPMS Canada chapters, and then once it's posted, then I can announce it to everybody. All right, so that's pretty well it for now. Thanks,
Okay.
Stuart.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you, as always, to you and the executive for putting all that extra time in. Even though a lot of people think you're still getting free travels, Ferraris, and stuff like that. So,
well, we're still talking about that.
I know, but we'll eventually burst that bubble just in time for something to change.
I think we can all give you all a nice little truck ride to Ottawa. That'll be good.
There you go.
Yeah, and an 18-wheeler.
Oh, God. Okay, other club business. Still, we're hopefully the province is reopening, so we're waiting to hear some more word about that. I'm really hoping we get something by April, depending where it's going to be. So again, watch this space for details. We will definitely send emails and notifications if we manage to meet physically again. Just those of you also speaking on the IPMS Canada side, the new Beaver Tales came out via your email, and Mr. Hill had a very nice article in there on one of his whirlybirds, Michael. So definitely check that out in your email box. Another good reason to subscribe to IPMS Canada, join the group. Heritage Con, just a brief thing, just again, and then I'll turn it over to Dave, see if there's anything else he has. Just a reminder, they are Ian's looking for judges. So definitely let him know, the sooner the better, so he can help plan. Just a reminder as well, they are doing any models entries. You have to pre-register. I did check with Alan. The money will be taken at the door. So when you pre-register, you're just pre-registering, I believe, up to 5 models. But they just need to know, because as we've seen, there's an awful lot of pent-up demand, and they don't want to get overwhelmed with all the various kits that people are doing. Okay, Jerry, now that you're here, is there anything our show, anything like that you want to talk about, or anything else we need to know from the financial side?
On the financial side, not really. There's really had been almost no change with the financials in the last 2 years. But
Okay.
on the show side, I have feelers out to the city to see when they'll start accepting bookings.
Okay.
They haven't opened that up yet, but it'll be any day now. So I've sort of been pushing them to let me know so I can be there the first day.
Right. I
Now,
haven't heard anything from Carling Heights about when the assessment center will
No.
close. I keep my ears open at the hospital for
Okay,
that.
good. But saying that, there was a mention of getting involved with the Jet Club
Mm-hmm.
here in London. I'm very, very interested in that. So I may talk to you and Jeff and see if we can arrange a meeting or something, or a quick Zoom call
Okay.
with them
That'd be great.
and
That'd be
see
great.
what we could do, because I think it would help, especially with our first show coming out of COVID.
Mhm.
If we had a partner like them, it might work really well. So
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Very good. Dave, was there anything else that Alan mentioned at the Peel meeting last night?
Yeah, so I brought up the topic of like you said, you're allowed to register 5 kits in advance. That's either 5 kits or they said the equivalent of 8 square feet of table space or something like that. But anyways, so I asked him if they don't fill the tables up, is something going to change? Can you register more than the 5 kits? Because I registered 5 myself, but I have another 6 or 7 that I could register. I had to pick and choose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they're closing the registration on the 15th to do a quick evaluation of how many entries they have and how much table space they have. As of last night, he was saying they have room for approximately, I think he said 900 models on the tables, and they have 200 people pre-registered right now, or approximately 200 people.
Wow.
But they expect to get swamped, in the last few weeks, because people are, sort of kicking the can down the road, waiting to see what happens with the province and opening and all that stuff. So there may be a huge influx at the end. But if
Okay.
there are some empty slots or empty table space, you'll be able to register more than the 5 kits you initially did. So, but that's just sort of up in the air right now. So once they evaluate that after the 15th of March, then they'll know what's going on.
Cool. Well, I
So-
have heard.
So Dave, when he says about 200 some odd people, is that how many kits? 200 kits, or are they?
I think he said they have 200 entries registered right now.
Oh, okay, 200 entries. That's different.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are waiting to see.
Yeah.
He was telling me about a show down in the US, one of the guys he knows down there that runs a contest. And when they opened their show up, they had room for, I think it was 400 kits on the tables or something in the venue they were in. And they ended up having like something like 600 or 700 people or entries show up, and they were completely swamped. So
Yeah.
they're really trying to avoid that, right? So that's what's going on with that. So that's it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, keep on building. Like I said, you can pre-register now over at the Heritage Con site. And like I say, if you are interested in being a judge, you're planning to be there, reach out to them on the contact address there. I know Ian's already looking, and IPMS Hamilton's always been good to us as a club. We sponsor each other's shows. They help with our judging. So it's only fair that we help with theirs. So there's a good relationship there. I do know all the vendor tables are already sold out. They're still working on some special guests. I think it's going to be an absolutely awesome time. It'll be good to see people again, face to face, and all that. So I think it'll be really good. Okay. Does anyone else, Jeff? Do you have any other club business right now?
Nope, nothing from me.
No. Okay. All right. We'll move on then. So we will. Oh, sorry. No. See, Duncan. See, I caught myself just in time. Go ahead, Duncan.
You got me just as I was reaching for the
I
unmute
saw that.
button.
I
Yeah.
saw that.
I just wanted to share with the club here that I've been working with Don Van Duzen's widow on dealing with his model collection and what he has left over. And the intention is it will go to Hamilton to the show to be sold there. But I've arranged with her that we can do a club visit to actually have first sort of dibs on what's there. I've talked to her about it. She's agreeable in principle of having people into the house to look at the stuff, but she may change her mind on that with COVID and all that.
Mhm.
So all I'd say is, it's within our club here, but I just don't want wide knowledge going outside the London area, just because I don't want people suddenly driving down that, we don't know who they are, because I know the interweb is a very porous place and things can get spread very fast. But I think it's, we all knew Don, and Don was part of our club. And I think it's only fair that we have the first chance to go in there. And there's a lot of armor. There's mainly armor, but there's aircraft as well, and there's books. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to keep the model collection in London in part, and pick up some good deals in the process. So what I would say is I would probably send a message through Facebook confirming it closer to the date. We're looking at March 5th, a Saturday. So just keep that to yourselves for now. And I think the AMPS club, people in AMPS that don't connect with IPMS, they will also find out through Scott. But as I say, I think it'll be a good opportunity for everybody to get a chance to pick up some deals and to honor Don. And hey, chance for us to get together and see each other, outside this Zoom world that we've been in for the last 2 years.
If I can make one suggestion, if possible, if it's possible to get some pictures or something, that way people can decide if they need to go. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, Duncan.
Yeah, I have some pictures, but it's more like it's a more an overall type thing. But
yeah, okay.
I hear what you're saying. Scott started making a spreadsheet of the kits.
All right.
But again, as I say, I just don't want it spreading all over the place.
Exactly.
To see what's there. But I do want everyone to have a chance to do that. So I think probably posting something on our Facebook page, because it is private, would be the best thing to do. But if you want to keep March 5th, in your calendar, it'll be probably in the morning. We'll get it over with, by lunchtime, and give people a chance to, pick up some deals, if you will.
I think what I would suggest is actually if you can send any info to Jeff, and he can send it out via the mailing list, because the Facebook list has a lot of people from other clubs and out of town. So we'll keep it to the mailing list.
I was just going to volunteer that, because the Facebook group has a lot of out of towners, but it also doesn't have a lot of physical club members who actually come to the meetings.
Yeah. So let's keep it to the email list.
If you want to send me what you need, what you want, just do up a note, forward it to me, Duncan, and I'll pass it around to everybody on our formal email list.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great, Jeff. That would work well. And then maybe I can get a few photographs to throw on there to sort of, at least kid wise, like there's a lot of reference material. There's aftermarket stuff. So I see Dave is dipping into the world of armor with his Leopard. So you never know, once you got one toe in the water, the next thing you're up to your knee. So just keep that in mind, Dave.
Yeah.
Of course, you're playing with a, I don't want to call it an airplane.
You don't want to call it playing either.
Now just since I have a chance here, Dave, what scale is that? Is that 1/144th?
It is, yeah.
Oh my God, that must be a huge thing in real
Yeah.
life.
Oh, it's freaking gigantic. Got to be gigantic. Yeah, it's impressive. It really is.
The Caspian Sea monster. Okay, well, thanks, Duncan. We really appreciate that.
No problem. And
And,
Jeff, yeah, I'll reach out to you and I'll get the information to you in a timely manner.
Yep, perfect. Anytime.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect, gentlemen. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to on the tables. Now, a couple of people were late with their submissions. I'll just have to do those separately. So we're going to start with George. And George, you go ahead, sir.
Thanks, dude. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you very well. Thank you, sir. Let me just move my
Perfect.
screen.
This was a kit, a Revell kit that I picked up at Brodale's stash about a year ago when he first got one of his first stashes in. It's a kit that was first released in '93, and I've never seen it in the shops before. So I grabbed it up because it was just kind of unique. This is a Henkel 115 float plane. It was used primarily for laying mines. It could also be a dedicated torpedo bomber. And in the early stages of the war, it harassed the northern Norway area, harassing Allied convoys into Britain and into the Soviet Union. The kit had, because of its age, was all raised panel lines. So I sanded off all the panel lines. I rescribed all the panel lines. The interior was practically zero. There was like a little box for a pilot seat. So I scratch built up a pilot seat. I found an old instrument panel and stuck it in there. I put in a floor and side panels just to, because there's a lot of glass. I didn't want it all empty. So I tried to put as much inside to make it sort of interesting looking through the glass as I could. Just Tamia paints and some weathering with oils was pretty much all I did to it. I kept it pretty simple. But what I wanted to do was display it on a water base. So I've never done that before. So I thought that might be kind of neat to try. So I did a water base. I went to Dollarama, bought a wooden base, bought some of their poster board, bought some of their cheap acrylic paints, painted up the poster board, and then with some clear silicone from Home Depot, I spread the silicone on top of the painted base, and then took a plastic spoon and rapidly tapped the top of the wet silicone with the plastic spoon to get it to kind of, give a kind of a wavy look to it. So that was my first attempt at doing water. And then I found some string and tried to make it look like the float plane was tied up to a dock somewhere. And so that was my first attempt at a water base and a seaplane.
Looks great, George. Looks absolutely awesome.
That's a
Thank
great
you.
technique for the water. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, that looks really
No,
good.
I found the technique on the internet under cheap ways to do water because I guess there's a lot of products out there that can be very expensive to do water.
Yep. Yeah,
But
this is
this
old
was
school.
done who did a YouTube video just showing this silicone and a spoon. And if you wet the bottom of the spoon, the silicone didn't stick to the bottom of the spoon. So if you work quickly, you could kind of create a little bit of a wave pattern there.
Cool. Well, you realize when we get back to physical meetings, you're going to have to demo that for the group one time.
Oh, sure, but would
Yeah.
love to
Yeah,
help out.
looks good. And again, yeah, the masking must have been fun for the greenhouse of a canopy.
That was a lot of masking tape, I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
A whole session for that. The whole nose was clear plastic with very little engraving. So I had to refer to photographs to kind of make glass framework and then just paint what was left over because the whole nose was just one solid piece of clear plastic.
Yep.
It looks great. If you were looking for cheap diorama ideas, you could have just called Ron. I probably could have given you something with, toothpaste and a paperclip, and he's.
You never know.
Did something like this, like half of this stuff came from the dollar store, eh, George?
Yeah, it did. The dollar store has all these different shapes and sizes of wooden
Yeah.
plaques, if
Oh, yes.
anything.
Yeah.
So a little bit of varnish and some staining, they end up cleaning up quite nice.
Awesome. All right. Mr. Drysdale, you are on deck, sir. Once he unmutes himself.
Hey,
There we go.
so this is a project I started a little while ago. And I opened up the box and it's the M3 Lee by Mirage. It's a 1/72nd scale kit. It got really good reviews and the detail is really quite nice. The only problem was that it was short shot. So there were like massive holes in it. The front and the back of the barrel didn't meet because there was a chunk missing there. There's a couple of the front of the top turret. It was like some kid took a magnifying glass to it and punched a hole through it. So I actually had to spend a lot of time just sort of trying to figure out how to fill holes in major parts. But anyway, I quite enjoyed it in the end. I had a lot of fun painting with it. The main things that I'm kind of learning are sort of how to use pigments. And so I did what I usually do with sort of oil painting, and there's some light chipping with the hairspray method. But then I started playing with pigments. So a lot of the tools and the tracks, essentially all I do is I put down a base color of some sort, and then I was trying to get away of putting on pigment and then trying to make it so that it wouldn't just disappear again. And so what I've been doing is just brushing on a layer of Tamia thinner, and then taking a rough paintbrush and stippling on 4 or 5 different pigment colors in sort of random tones. And the tools at the back, the metal for the tools, I did that. The tracks, I did that. And some of the dust, I did that on the top. And so I was really quite pleased with how that turns out. It really does look like aged metal when you're done with it. The tow cable was a mess. It was made from the same sort of rubber plastic that the tracks were made out of. And so I wasn't happy with it. So I actually took copper wire and wrapped it to make my own tow cables, and used 2-part epoxy to make the hooks, and then used photo etch scrap to make the clamps for it. In the end, it took me ages. I sort of started it before the Christmas holidays, and I only finished it a week or so ago. And that's actually spending a fair bit of time on it. So for a 1/72nd scale kit, it was, I spent a lot of time that I shouldn't have, but I was actually really pleased with how it turned out in the end. I've just got it. The only thing missing is there's photo etch light guards. And when I was taking the pictures, I noticed that one of them decided to go to the carpet monster. So I have no idea where it is, and I'll probably have to go back and scratch build that. But anyway, it was nice that everybody mentioned Don Van Dusen earlier. Thank you, Duncan, because it was Russian armor in 1/72nd scale. And I must admit, almost every time I worked on it, I thought of Don. So that was kind of pleasant too.
Cool. Very nice work.
Nicely done.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, this is I put this in just for a bit of a joke. I've been constantly starting models lately and not finishing them, and they're all sitting, staring at me. So I have the Graf Zeppelin, which is still sitting there staring at me, and a Douglas D558-2 skyrocket model. It was a Revell mold from 1955. That's how old it is. It's a year older than me, and but it was kind of cool. I mean, it was a neat plane, and I hadn't seen any seen anything like it, so I wanted to build that. And I found this in the Roughdale stash, which is the D5581 Douglas Sky Streak, and it's by Meercraft or Meyercraft or whatever it is. Anyway, it's a horrible kit. You can see this. I kept the size of the sprues and all the flash that you can see on there, and forget it. Not putting wheels on this mother. It's going to be an in-flight display, and had to scratch build the intake and the exhaust, and it's a fair bit of dust there too. I'm sure I'm going to die early because of all the stuff I took up the nose, but it's a horrible little thing. Anyway, I just thought you'd get a kick out of seeing. Once again, I've chosen the most crappy kit. I haven't got a Tamia going yet. I mean, at least something about the crappy kits, I feel like I've added something to it as opposed to just assembled it. And I don't mean that as a negative against the top-notch kits that are out there. That's going to be next on my list, is doing one of those, just because the quality demands an awful lot of your skills to bring it up to do it justice. This one doesn't demand as much of your skills. It just demands a lot of patience and not throwing it at the wall.
You're going to have to buy a whole new set of standards in Hamilton, the way you're
I'm
going
telling
there.
you, I'm going to buy several sets of sanders. You can see
Yep.
on the top about 1 o'clock, there's a big lumpy sander. That's the Walmart.
Yep.
That's the pink and purple one. That's the Walmart seven phase sanding stick that women use for their fingernails, and it's actually really good. I mean,
It is.
You can go from crap to brilliant shine just with that one stick. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Dollar Store also has those.
Yeah.
So just FYI. All right.
Jeff, does that kit come with the hula girl to put up on the console in front of you?
No, but it should. It absolutely should.
Exactly. All right, Mr. White.
Hey,
Whoops.
so this is
There you
a 135th Tamiya Ford quad and 25 pounder. And it's originally released in 1974. It's a very easy, straightforward kit to assemble, unlike what Jeff was just working on. It's the same kit that Paul Crevalis was putting in the Facebook page. Only I did it with 8th Army color scheme. I put a few mods on it, a fire extinguisher in the cab. I opened the front window, opened the hood. There's a nice little engine they provide. I put the winch in, some metal storage rods at the back of the quad, and then of course added lots of stuff that people would carry. Put some very light weathering on it because I'm not that great at weathering. I'm still learning. And then I've also got a small diorama, which is a breakdown on the road to Mersa Matruh. Yeah, there's 25 pounder in the ammunition carriage. And yeah, there's my little diorama. The guy reading the map and somebody else opening up the engine, everybody peering in, trying to figure out what's wrong with it. And that's my kit. It was really, if you need for Jeff, if you need a nice little easy kit, this is great.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. So the figures are all Italeri figures that I picked up at Heritage Con about 3 years ago and finally assembled them.
All righty. Looks good.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Wilson here. He was hoping to make it.
Yep.
Here he is. All right.
Again, I'm trying to clear my shelf of kits that have been started. And this is, I don't know when I got this kit, but this is a Hasegawa F100D from somewhere in the 80s. It's got raised panel lines. But I have a decal sheet, a model decal sheet that has markings for 3 different F100s. And I want to use all the markings on 3 different planes. So this is the first one I've done. And the model decal sheet is 50 years old, and the decals go on beautifully. So this is just really, it's an easy build, but I added a few things. I added an airwaves ejection seat, and airwaves landing gear and wheels, white metal. And then from the spares box or the parts box, I found a couple of bombs and AGM 12, I think, bullpup missile. So it's Vietnam era, Gunzy paint, old Gunzy paint. And now there's another one that's finished off my Shelf of Doom.
That's awesome. I'm glad to see you're working on the Shelf of Doom.
Nice work on the heat effect on the tail unit too.
Yeah, that was kind of hard to work at. I don't know. I haven't perfected it, but I've got 2 more F100s to practice on.
What scale is that, Tim?
It's 72nd scale.
72nd, okay.
Looks very good.
Looks nice. All right, so the remaining ones are a couple of late contributors. Let me go to my email and find it here.
Well, no, I got that in before dinner,
I know, but I was working today. I'm gonna have to start specifying 24 hours before. That's obviously what I'm gonna have to do. That's all right.
Well, I was hoping to have more done on this thing that's currently in front of me, so I was gonna submit better pictures, and then
I know.
nothing
That's all right.
happened, and then I went to work, and then I was at work, and then I'm like, I better send somebody some pictures, so.
Yeah, I'll forgive you. It's okay. Millions wouldn't, but
Yeah.
I will.
That's swell.
All right, let me just find the right window here.
Hey, I see Ben's joined us. That's a long time no see. Good to see you.
Hey, Ben.
He's alive and well. I know, like I said, we're getting, it's like the old, like you say, it's like the band's back.
Getting the
All
band
right.
back together.
Let me find my emails for the February meeting. All right, so we'll start with Dave and we'll re-enable the share. Screen number 1, and he's even says here, numbered for proper order. All right, you guys seeing that?
Ooh.
All right, Dave.
So, there's this thing every year called the 24-hour build of Daytona. So during the 24 hours of Daytona race, a group down in I think it's New York State somewhere, these guys get together and they they build a kit during the 24 hours of Daytona. They've been doing it for 16 years now. This is my 3rd year participating. The first 2 years I built Star Wars Bandai kits. This year I thought I would do something completely different, and this Acrylic plan had come out. I'd had it for a few weeks when I remember that thing was coming up. So I thought it would be pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of parts in here. I thought, oh, that can't be that hard to do in 24 hours. But I forgot, unlike Bandai Star Wars kits, there's actually seams on these things they got to clean up. So, so I spent hours and hours doing seams, and as you can see, almost 3 weeks later, I'm still working on it. So I didn't quite do it in 24 hours. This was Sunday afternoon after I'd blown through the deadline, and I had the primer on it. And this is later in the week, I think, actually, because I was still doing seams on Sunday night, I think. So, anyways, I got primer on it and gave it a quick polish and double check the seams and that. And I took a bit more time around the canopy and the little gun turret pieces and stuff to make it a bit nicer than it would have been if I hadn't done it in 24 hours. And then I did all this pre-shading. This is with German gray. And then I think the next photo, this took me about 2 hours. And then I came back with my top color. So some kind of a Gunzy sea gray or something. And I started, going over top of the pre-shading and sort of doing a bit of post-shading kind of thing to clean the lines up a little bit and that. And I spent probably 3.5 hours, 4 hours doing this in one airbrush session. Got a pretty bad cramp in my hand. By the time I was done, I wasn't too happy. I'd sort of eradicated a bit of my pre-shading, but because the gray that I was using was glossy, it had a bit of weird texture on it I didn't like. So I came back with like a 4,000 grit sanding sponge and took down all the texture that was in the paint. And in the process of doing that, it actually made my pre-shading come through a little bit more. Again, made the whole thing look a little bit worn and kind of weathered more, which was sort of a benefit of having to give it a quick polish. And then after that, I did the blue on, masked off the whole thing, did this blue on the bottom. This blue is FS15102 is specified in the instructions. the only available paint I could find online was that new Ammo Meg or whatever it is, paint that's out, the acrylics. But I also did a Google search and I found that Monomaster made that color in their enamels ages ago. So I rummaged around in the closet. I found my box of about 40 Monomaster paints I haven't looked at in years. And I know they're discontinued now. So luckily I have an affinity for blue paints, and I like to just buy blue paints, but I see them as being one of my favorite colors for stuff. So, and being a sci-fi guy, I paint a lot of stuff blue, I guess. And I had one of those jars in there. So I tried to thin it with the, did an experiment with the Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. And boy, did it ever thin this paint out nice, and it just sprayed like a dream. So I sprayed all the blue stuff, and then I left it, I peeled the masking off almost right away. It was still, the paint was a bit soft being an enamel still, so I waited a couple days before I touched it. But I took all the masks off, and then I, started, and this is how it was a few days ago. I got the decals on, I think 2 nights ago. And I had to, cut the decals over all the panel lines, so, a little more realistic. So I did that, and then I let it sit overnight, and now I'm going across this whole thing doing a wash. I started using the Vallejo acrylic washes. Not a big fan, really. It doesn't flow nice, so I went back to the old standby, which is the old Meg Productions washes. I've got their dark wash here, and it's going on. It flows really nice into the panel lines. And I did gloss coat it with Tamia LP9 gloss, so any wash that isn't in the panel lines, once it dries, I can just come along with these little Q-tips. These are ones I found on Amazon. I think I bought 1,000 of these for like $12. And then the little really tight ones that are kind of pointy, right? So all the extra wash just wipes off, just dry without even any solvents or anything. If it's a little bit stubborn or gets a little bit messy, I can put a tiny drop of Varsol on a Q-tip and just wipe it away, and it cleans off really nice. So I'm about 90% done putting the wash on this, and once that's done, I can let it dry overnight maybe, and I can put my clear flat on tomorrow and glue the last few bits on this thing and call it done. Take the masks off all the windows. And I got to make gun barrels, because the gun barrels that were on it were like styrene and they looked awful. So I'm going to replace them with a little bit of brass tubing that I have here. And that'll be it. She'll be done. So this thing's 1/144 scale. It's about 20 inches long in that scale. So it's just a monster. Like, I mean, there was this one, they built 2 of these, I think, the lung class, and there was a larger one that was like half again as big. That was the one that was called the Caspian Sea Monster. And then they did do a smaller one too that had a propeller on the top of the vertical tail. And Revell Germany modeled that one, a 1/144 scale. I've got that around here somewhere in one of my storage bins. So I might pull that out sometime later in the year and build that. Anagram does a kit of the really big one, but the Anagram kit, I think it's like $200 in this resin. So I may just hold off and see if Tacom loses their mind and does a giant kit like that. If they do, maybe I can have that in styrene as well and not have to break the bank to get one. So so that's it.
Very good. I still think it's funny this thing would have like small caliber guns. The thing's so bloody huge. No one's going to get, someone's going to try and take it out from long range anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
Looks
I'm
great.
looking forward to trying this one. It looks like a great kit.
Okay, let's see. The next one is your workspace. Let's see. Yeah, that's your workspace. We'll cover that later. Here we go, Johnny. Johnny. He says, I know it's super late and I apologize for it. So we'll give Johnny credit for that.
At least Johnny apologized.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Unlike someone else.
And he didn't swear while doing it too.
I know. Johnny's a nice guy. That's why we have him around.
Yep.
All right, Johnny.
Yeah, this is the Aoshima Lamborghini fender door. This is like I sanded it with 1200 grit sanding sponge, and then 1500. Then I applied a primer, but see some imperfections, and then I sand it again. This is after I sand it again, and I actually have applied another coat of primer earlier today, and also 2 coats of glossy black. And I'm sending it again right now with 2000 and 4000 grit because I'm not sure if it's because I painted too thick or other reason. Got a little bit of like orange skin texture, and I just want to get rid of that before I paint the chrome silver above the glossy black.
Very cool.
You know, when I first saw those pictures on Facebook, I thought the model was chrome, painted with chrome, because the way it looks in the picture, especially the first picture, it almost looks like it's chrome plated already.
That's what I thought too. So
Yeah, it's coming along nicely. Here we go. All right, and the other two of your workbench, I think, from what you
Yeah.
had there. All right, perfect. All right, did anyone else have anything? I think I got everyone there. Let me just. Yeah, looks like that was everything for the tables. Anyone else have anything what they're working on before I move on? No, no, okay. All righty, let's go back to the slideshow here. And again, we got a couple on the tables. We're going to talk about tonight workspaces. This was Jeff's idea. Credit where credit is due. Let's talk about workspaces a bit, gentlemen, because, you know, there's always ideas to be had. There's Facebook forums, there's all sorts of different things when people talk about workspaces. And there's always good ideas. So we asked you to submit some ideas, and let me find it here. Do that, and we will share it again. Here we go. That one, I believe. I don't know. There we go.
I love tech support.
Listen, that's enough out of you.
Have you tried turning it off and back on?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we tell people, you know. And I tell you, when I was at London Life doing tech support, it was amazing the stats from the legal side of things. All those
Shut up.
lawyers didn't have a clue.
Shut up.
Hey, you know, I bet Alpha will back me up on that, you know.
Well,
So
anything you can do to insult me, Alpha will back you up on for sure.
well, there you go.
Is it plugged in? Is it
Yeah.
plugged in?
Exactly. See?
Did you
You
try
know?
the foot pedal?
Yeah. Yes, you know, the famous foot pedal. Yeah, people when they had mice originally, they thought it was a foot pedal. All right.
what?
Seriously, it was a thing. Because they thought it was like a sewing machine, right? It had a cable, so they thought maybe, you know, it was like that or like a power router. All right, so this is Jeff's area. Okay, first thing we want to know, where's the shelf of shame, so we can all see it. I see a
Shelf-
Zeppelin on top there.
You see that white bookcase?
Yeah,
great. That's chock-a-block full of uncompleted
Oh
kits.
dear, you're gonna have to build a whole new wing. You keep this up.
Well, there's another up in the study. There's another a display shelf which I've populated with incomplete models, because if I only use complete models, I wouldn't need a display shelf.
All right.
So
Now I gotta ask you one more question. When I see this, I see on the upper right there, I see a Canada Life Assurance Company sign. Did you steal that?
I did not steal that. This is
Okay.
a very strange. The first house when we moved to London and I took the job at London Life, the first house we bought and we went in to look through and eventually did buy it. It turned out it had been owned by a vice president of London Life, and he had a 3-volume set of the history of London Life there.
Oh
So I
dear.
figured, okay, we've got to buy this house.
I see.
And later on, when we were looking for another house to buy or to move to, the previous owner had been a Canada Life insurance agent, and he had this sign in his house along with an old actuary's desk that he managed to liberate from the Canada Life Assurance building in Toronto. So I took both of those.
So potentially they could be stolen. So you might want to check with the archive, the official company archivist that they have there in the basement.
I can talk to Don, but he's
Yeah.
retired too, so he doesn't.
Oh, did he
care.
retire? Okay, good for him.
Yeah.
All right.
So you can see here, Kerry can attest to my spray booth is his old spray booth, and I still have pretty much all of the stickers on it, including the foul language ones. And the one cool thing that I suggest is, and I got this from Bill, I think it was from Bill Webb, that rather than punch a hole out and vent outside, I bought one of those charcoal filters, which you can see just down the bottom right corner, hidden behind the hair dryer.
Whoops, sorry. There.
That is normally used in marijuana grow ops to keep the stink down, and it works great. I mean, I've been blowing lacquers and things through this, and it seems to work great. There's no smell in the room or in the house, so I'm pretty impressed with that, and it's very quiet too.
So you'll be all set when you build the greenhouse next year.
Yeah, exactly. So you can sort of see I got some old fine scale modelers, the whole shelf there, and the Discovery spaceship on the left, and then the Graf Zeppelin incomplete on the shelf just above the desk, and that's
in its natural form, crashed on the ground.
Crashed on the ground. At least it's not burnt to a cinder. That's the next phase.
That's right.
Is that your stash in the background?
Yeah, that's the stash in the background. You can sort of see it. We finished. My wife and I finished this one half of the workshop basement, and the other half is still where all the tools and stuff is, and the stash as well. There's a better view of the stash, and to the big thing, the big cabinet thing with a light on it. Those are on big industrial wheels, and I can roll them all around. It's basically a bunch of old cabinets from another house we used to live in when we renovated it, that I sort of screwed all together, put them on a base, and that's where I keep all the machine tools and stuff, and just roll it all. You can roll it around and do different things in the space.
Excellent use of space there. Exactly. Very good. So let's go through. George, yours is next.
Okay, thanks, Stu. When I retired, I'd always thought, okay, I'll have more time to do model building, and I always wanted to have a nicer spot to build, because I always used to build in the unfinished basements where we lived in Mississauga. And for some reason, where I worked was always the coldest spot in the entire house. So building models and keeping warm was like, big deal. So when we moved to London, the basement was finished in the house we bought in London. So I was able to take my old work desk and set it up downstairs in a space that had heat and light and everything. So I was like absolutely ecstatic that I had like a nice place to work for once. So that's my workspace, my little compressor and spray booth on one side. I didn't go with a lot of shelving to hold paints and stuff, but I went with these little, again, the dollar store is the best place in the world beside Canadian Tire. One of the things I clued into quick was, because I was able to build, 2 or 3 planes and have them ongoing at the same time, I bought these little organization boxes and set them up so that I could have a place to put as I remove parts from sprues or painted them or sanded them or prepped them, whatever. I could keep each plane separate. So each kit I'm working on has its own little plastic box designated where I can keep all the odds and ends in. So that helps me not mix up stuff. The next picture, this was something I found on the internet, just browsing for organization stuff. It's a little, I guess we would have called it a Lazy Susan. It's a little rotating carousel, but it's designed to hold primarily paintbrushes, but it basically is a catch-all for everything. All my sanding sticks, paintbrushes, the paints I'm using currently to work on a model, and it just rotates around and you can basically get to anything you want right in front of you all the time. And it tries to keep the place a little neat. So if anybody ever sees one of these, it really does work, and it really helps keep you organized.
I have something similar from the dollar store, actually, George. I don't know if people can see that. Yeah. So I use it for like my Q-tips and stuff like that. But same idea. And the dollar store is all sorts of different things like that. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. It's a great little idea.
Yeah. Sorry, someone else is going to say something there. No, okay, I'll go on.
And this is another, this was a lazy Susan just from a kitchen store. Same idea. I can put a lot of different paints and materials on it. And again, it's just a quick spin and a rotate. And I've got access to, pretty much anything I need without doing a lot of nice shelving on the walls. Also, the dollar store is a great place. Behind it, you can see these little stackable pull-out tray drawers. And then I just label them up and keep everything in there for storage purposes. And you can just keep stacking them as high as you want. And they just hold the small quantities of stuff that I end up using for modeling. So those just some of the things that I've learned and have set up in my workspace downstairs.
I'm impressed everything's labeled. That just makes me feel so bad about myself.
I just bought one of those little keypad dyno.
Oh, I love those. Yep.
Those little dymo labelers.
Yep.
I have one. I just have never ever used it.
Oh yeah. My wife has all her stuff labeled, and eventually I'm going to get some of mine once I figure out what goes where. Because that's one of the things you have to find sometimes. You'll try putting certain things somewhere, and then you'll realize, no, it needs to go somewhere else. I'm a big believer of the 80-20 rule. 80% of the tools use 20% of the time and vice versa. So there's a small subset of tools, 20% you'll use a lot. And those are the ones that are handy to have close. So yeah. All right, Mr. Wilson.
Ooh,
look at this. Isn't this nice?
This is just an overview of the whole room. I had, we're in a new house and I was able to appropriate the basement bedroom. And so I had an old teacher's desk, which you'll be happy to know, Jeff, is very messy. And so off to the left, I have a bookcase that has all my reference material and a few kits stacked there, my stereo for music. Over to the right is a kind of a mobile table that I've got my spray booth on with paints below, and I have it vented outside. And it just, I don't know, it works for me. I'm not very well organized. I just sort of remember where everything is. Every once in a while, I forget where something is. And it's a mad dash to try to figure out where did I leave that thing. But this works for me. I think there's one more picture that shows.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, this is just a close-up of the desk of the work area, and you can see the mess that there is. I have a little rack there behind with, it does have labels on it that has small parts that I have stashed away and whatnot.
Those bottle caps or wine lids or those little silver things, are those paint holders or is that what you use them for?
Yeah, I use them to, if I'm using crazy glue or something, I put a dab in that and use that. And then I mix paint in that too. But yeah, when you I'm into sort of wine, so I
it's the plastic tops of the wine that you've just turned off.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're great. A lot of them are metal, so you can use them to mix things into. I use them a lot.
I like that. You obviously appreciate your wine considerably.
Yes, I do.
Very cool. That's a nice looking Canberra you're working on.
Yeah, that's the next thing on the shelf of doom that I'll be working on, along with a 69 Camaro Z28.
Sweet.
So hopefully that'll get done.
Yeah.
You're guilting me in. You're guilting me into having to do this, Tim. Starting to finish those damn models. It's irritating.
Well, there's so many that I want to start, but there's so many that are, already started. I feel guilty that they're not done.
Yeah, I do too. I feel guilty, but that doesn't seem to stop me from starting another one. That's my problem.
Well, everybody does what they
You're in good company, Jeff. Definitely. Okay, I put Tim's name here because I was cutting and pasting at the last minute. Whose is this?
It's Kevin White.
It's Kevin's.
Yeah. So I actually labeled for everybody. My rather messy desk compared to everybody else's here.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, but I do have my USB speaker for listening to Scale Model
I
Podcast.
thank you for the plug.
Very good. Very good. That's shameless.
Yeah.
Shameless, I say.
Yeah, so I've got a fairly small desk, old kitchen counter, put it on an old cabinet. I can't remember who it was who went previously, and it was using dollar store containers to separate the parts for their
That was
kit.
George. Yep.
George, yeah. So I've got 6 of them that I actually store my Tamia and Humbrol paints in
Cool.
because they fit perfectly. So I've got 70 paints in those containers there. My Pledge, my Hairy Sticks, because I use brushes. I don't have a spray gun. And just all my little tools there, and a sprue rack and spare parts and what have you, and some inspiration up on the wall.
Awesome. Looks great. Looks
Oh,
really,
I like
really
it.
good.
I like the inspiration. Very
Yeah.
cool. I like the labeling. Very, very organized.
Yeah, Photoshop.
Yeah.
Photoshop is your friend. Okay, so that was the slideshow. Now let me go back to because we had a couple of people. I think Dave had some shots here. Yep. Okay, let me share that. That one, and then we go share. All right. Lappy.
So that's my main workbench. I've been able to take over an upstairs bedroom in the house, so it's a little bit of luxury. So although my old shop for my business in the old house in St. Thomas, I had about 800 square feet in the basement with giant work tables and all my machine tools and stuff, but they all got moved into the business down here. But you can see I've got my light arch there. I've got all my paint racks, all my paints organized by type. The Tamia and the Gunzi paints, actually all the paints are now in order by paint number. So I found myself, to prevent myself from buying duplicate paints, I did that. I also have one of these apps on my phone to track paints. So I've got all my paints in an application now. So when I'm sitting in the hobby shop, I can bring it up and not buy doubles or triples.
What app do you use?
What's that?
What's the app that you use?
Oh, what's it called? Hold on.
Yeah, because I wouldn't mind knowing that too.
I know
I've
there's
got
one
so
for
many-
Android. I don't know if there's one
Sure.
for Apple.
This one's called Hobby Color Converter.
Yeah, is that for Android?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they make one for Apple. I use a spreadsheet. I
Right,
just
yep.
have a spreadsheet and I just have it there.
So, I mean, that app's pretty handy. It has a shopping list in there too, so I can add colors to a shopping list. So I can just
Yeah.
go to that and find things. So can you zoom in on that, Stuart?
I can try.
I like your decal water heater.
Yeah. So it's got a mug sitting on it right now. So across the back of the bench there, I've got all these pen organizers. Most of them are the same. These are ones I found on Thingiverse, and we have a huge bank of 3D printers at work. So I just printed these other
That's the
things
way to
out
do it. Yeah.
at work. So the ones, there's like a gray one up front there with a bunch of sanding sticks sticking out of it. There's that one. There's one with all my God hand sanding sticks as well. That's the same one, only I canceled the print early, so it was like came out shorter, right? A lot of the tools sort of on the left there now. I had a portable toolbox for going to all the different meetings and stuff, and I finally gave in just recently, and I emptied that toolbox onto the bench there. So I got all that stuff organized. Over to the right a bit more is a few other things. So basically, most of my tools now are first order retrievability. That's a toolbox there with some drawers and files and stuff. The tools that are laying on the bench are like, that Stuart said, the 20% that are the most used. So a couple different, I got a Tamia hobby knife. I've got an X-Acto knife with the number 16 blade in it. A toothbrush for, getting dust off of stuff and that. The little blue cap sitting there is off of like a margarine container or something, and or a yogurt container. And I'll put little drops of super glue on that, right, to use it off of there. And eventually it gets full up and I just, chuck it out sort of thing, right? There's a sour cream container sitting there with little bits of sandpaper in it. The scribing tools in the top right corner there. So, my Tamia cements are sort of sitting there behind that one little lamp, right? And you know, the shelves are fun because they do collect the odd little curiosity here and there. So there's a you know, monkey skull sitting up there and a few funny things, right? A couple of the Canadian Arrow rockets. I got a Buddha up there. I got the speakers for my sound system. There's a subwoofer under my bench. So it's one of those. It's one of the old Creative Labs sound systems. But
Oh
it still
yeah,
works
yeah,
great,
yeah.
right?
I see your. I see. See, look, Jeff. His drawers are labeled.
I'm hating this.
Yeah, the drawers are labeled so I can find stuff, right? So
Okay,
there's
what's
a-
this over here? What's this? What's this you're wearing? Oh, this is the Econoplane.
that was the Acrylic plan.
That's
So
right.
This was taken on the night before the 24-hour build. So
Right.
you know, I cleaned the bench off so it was tidy and ready to
Right.
go. All my tape is stored on top of that toolbox there. There's actually an orange safety flag from Knob Creek Gun Range. You know, from when I was down in Kentucky one time shooting with the boys at Wonderfest. So that's like that side on the left there. There's a TV. It's like a 32-inch TV. So I just plugged my laptop into that. So I got a larger screen. Is what I'm staring at right now for the meeting, actually. So, you know, and I can watch YouTube videos on there or whatever. My sparkly disco prize from Wonderfest many years ago is glued to the top of the TV. So, right. And there's a little Totoro there and a couple of little curiosities I found in the bin of stuff, and I just put them there. There's some cards. It should be a scale model podcast.
Yeah, I see that right there. This
Card
is
up
good.
There you
This
go.
is good.
right?
Good. Excellent plug.
Yeah, a little bit of my history there in the form of business cards and that are up on there.
Perfect.
So
Then you got
that
another
kind of
pic.
thing.
Then you got another picture, I believe. Yep. Here we go.
Yeah.
Spray booth.
So yeah, behind me there's my spray booth. And you can see on top of the spray booth, there's my vent fan. So it's on a board and it's connected by like a dryer hose. So I can open the top part of that window on the left there, stick that in the window, and I just sort of slam the window shut and it holds it in place. And then I can turn the fan on. It's like a 396 CFM fan.
Jesus.
So I turn that thing on low even, and I can, if I put it on high, I can use like rattle cans in that spray booth, and you can't smell it 3 feet away, right? So it's nice to have good ventilation.
And I
I've got a
see.
little bit of,
I noticed
Sorry,
he
go
was
ahead.
hoarding all the unicorn tears.
yeah. So I never want to run out. So yeah, I've got 5 bottles there, right? And there's an empty one sitting down below there.
Yeah.
You know, paper towels and stuff like that sit there. I got one of those little airbrush cleaning stations. I've got 3 different jars of lacquer thinner sitting there. So I've got a really dirty one. So when I use the pipettes to, transfer paint. So I'll clean out a pipette in the dirty one, then I'll use the not so dirty one, and then I'll use the clean one to flush out the airbrush, stuff like that. On the left there is all my little holding tools and sticks and various things. You know, you got to hold parts. I've got those little alligator clips. I think I sold a bunch to the guys in the clubs years ago. But I've got a whole bunch left. And when I was doing like the Ford GT40, I found myself like, it just, I buy the little skewers that are sticking out of there and I cut them in half and I put my little alligator
Mhm.
clips on there.
Yeah, I do that.
I've got like about 45 alligator clips there now. And it's amazing when you got a little, tree full of them, right? And I think if you pan out a bit and go to the bottom right, I'm not sure if you can see it or not. No, you can't quite see it. You can get these little corrugated cardboard things for your cats to scratch on at the pet store for like
Yep.
$5 or something. I've got one of those I cut up and I hot glued a piece of cardboard at the bottom so I can stand all my little sticks up in that. And it works really good with all the little parts on it. So, and yeah, there's all my paint thinners are there. Those are empty jars sitting by the cursor right now. All my different paint thinners and various stuff are on that shelf. And just right there to the right of the spray booth, you can sort of see that in the bleak angle. There's more jars of paint. Those are all pre-thin jars of paint. So whenever I use a color, I'll like thin half a jar at once. And there's a Mr. Surfacer sitting there. You can see below the Tamia rattle cans. So those are, each one of those jars has a different color of Mr. Surfacer in it. So I've got, resin thinner or resin surfacer, and I got white and black and gray. And my other jar of gray is sitting in the spray booth right now, ready for the next day to start
Very
doing
cool.
my 24-hour build. So yeah, it works out pretty good. I've got some pegboard inside the spray booth there, so I got a bunch of hooks I can put in there and hang parts from to dry. And I got my Grex airbrush sitting there, and I've got above the spray booth hanging on the pegboard. I've got my Iwata Neo airbrush that I use sometimes. The Grex is really my workhorse, though. I really like that airbrush.
One of the things I like, and it's a good thing that I do the same thing, is again, by your spray booth, you put all the stuff related to spraying. all
Yeah.
together. So you're not having to carry it back and forth. And yeah, I kind of do the same thing. I've got my thinners and stuff like that that I don't normally would use when I'm building, and it's all together. Exactly.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have
So
a-
it works out good. I mean, this is of course like anybody else. This is years of having hobby spaces, right, and figuring out what works best. In the old shop I had, I mean, I had a 6x6 foot spray room with a huge squirrel cage fan that came out of an old grow op that was next to my house in London, and I used to use that in the spray room, and I could do rattle cans. I was doing lots of giant model work and restoring big Concord models and stuff like that, right? And it worked out really good. But just outside of that spray booth, I had all my paint racks set up there. And if you go back to the other picture, Stuart,
Yep.
all these paint racks that I have, those are all, I mean, I custom built those, right? And I just keep building more paint racks as I need them. Someday, when I have I'm renting the house I'm in now. Once I get into a house I own, I'll probably just build a couple of giant paint racks that, are designed for all the different sizes of paints instead of having a bunch of little ones sort of fit in there. But right now it works good. And I keep my paints organized by brand and usually by number and stuff. You can see my Alclads on the right there. And there's a bunch of testers metallics down below. And to the right of all the Alclads, there's all my zero paints for automotive stuff. So if you're doing automotive stuff and you want automotive paint match stuff, those are really nice too. So
Very good.
it's nicely organized. It's very nicely
Yeah,
organized.
it
And
is.
usually there's a show flyer stuck to that pegboard. That's not the pegboard, the cork board there. So I got to print out a Heritage Con flyer, I guess, and stick it on there because shows are starting to happen again. So I got to start putting my flyers up.
Okay, what's the picture of you looking very intently at?
Oh, that's when I was working on the underwater robotics stuff called Starfish.
Ah, okay.
And so we were watching, there's a live feed from a group called Nautilus Live. And these guys are out of the West Coast somewhere in the US, and they do all this amazing underwater exploration and stuff of, exploring seamounts, or they're doing work on underwater seismic stuff or whatever. So we were watching these guys live, and it's usually a bunch of university graduate students that are doing this work.
Right.
And they'll be out at sea for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And they'll be going for like hours with underwater stuff. So we were watching that while we were working on these underwater robotic stuff. So
Cool.
I had somebody take a picture of me working on the underwater robotic stuff, and then I posted it to Twitter, and I tagged them in Twitter, and then they retweeted my post on
Nice.
their Twitter page. So it was kind of just as a bit of a lark. So it was kind of fun.
Nice. Very good. All right. I think we got one more. I think it's Johnny. Let's see here. Yeah, Johnny, we had a couple of your space here.
This is in my bedroom, just next to the bed. You can see the bed is on the right side of the desk. Yeah, because I'm still renting my friend's one room of my friend's house. I don't have much space, but yeah, this is totally for modeling. I have some tools on the most left side of the desk in that rack. Include some brushes to remove the dust of the part, a Sharpie, a pencil just to mark some stuff, right? And I have some what's that called? Just tweezers and knives and that
Scissors and
what's that material?
sanders.
Not really sanders, but that pen or fiberglass pen.
Oh, fiberglass pen. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then the two semi-transparent black box are all sanding sponges. Yeah, and then I have that black mat just to clean the sanding sponge or sanding sticks. It will like all the dust will stick onto the mat if I just no. And
I like this rack here you've got.
Yeah, this
with
rack
your
is
brushes.
all brushes. Yeah, and I have some what's that called?
Scribers. Yep.
There too.
The various tips. Yeah, I see that.
And I have some more tools at the back. Those are not often used. I just find some way to put them. And then on the right hand side, there's a magnetic stick
Mhm.
for all those cutters, scissors, saws.
Very good.
Yeah. And I put the rest
You
of the
just kind of,
stuff
yeah.
on the shelf. Yeah.
And of course, some kits there,
Yeah.
including the famous
Almost finished.
KV one.
All
Yep,
recently finished.
that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll have a few to go to compete with some of the other guys.
No
And
kidding.
then there's the next one. There's your spray
Yeah.
booth, and all that
Now
goodies.
this is all the spray things, and also where I made my dioramas, but that is my paint booth.
Right beside the gas fireplace.
Yeah, of course, it works perfectly.
That one, I don't think my house owner ever used that after she got a house. But I don't even know if it's for display or real.
I wouldn't try and test it. I'm just saying. Don't
let it
test it.
match.
Don't let it
Don't
match, Johnny.
Yeah, so I put all the pre-thinned, like I thinned all my often used paints into those dropper bottle.
Mhm. Yep.
And then I put it right side of just on the desk, on the small shelf on the desk. And also there's thinner and cleaner and primer on top of the shelf.
Yep.
And then on the left hand side is the and that is the dehydrator.
Mhm.
And also ultrasonic cleaner.
Yep.
And some brush, and these brush are for dioramas, not for brush painting.
See, I'm worried. He's got the lighter right there, Jeff.
Yeah, well,
And this, I don't smoke at all. This lighter is only for burning off the CA glue I don't want.
Yeah, I'm winding you up, Johnny. Don't worry.
Or like make the foam shrink
Yep.
when
Yep.
I do diorama. And on the right hand side are all the unthinned paint.
Uh-huh.
And I put them. Yeah, I don't have a shelf for them.
That's all right. Hey, if it works for you, that's like, again, that's the secret. One thing I find is there seems to be two camps. Some people like having the display shelves and,
I want to have
display it out.
a shelf one day, but
yeah. And other people like I just keep mine in plastic drawers. Whatever works for you. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about your workspace, Johnny. I mean, the quality of your work speaks for itself.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I think that was the last one. Yeah, because the other one's of your car.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that was it for workspaces. Hey, yeah. So does anyone else have any suggestions, ideas? I mentioned the 80-20 rule. A lot of it's what you're comfortable with, obviously. And it's funny, just like office desks, you'll find some people that have it's clean, you can eat off of it and they clean it up every time. And there's others that just leave it as is. But again, both people seem to be very happy as long as they can find their stuff.
Yeah, what I find is that like I had to downsize quite a bit, and a lot of my stuff I don't even have from my old place yet because winter came on and didn't want to be moving stuff in the winter time. But I've learned that like I work on a 2x4 foot folding table, one of those resin ones that are fairly sturdy. And what I find is now that I've downsized my workbench, I keep it a little bit cleaner because I run out of room pretty quick. So every time, before I start during, when I start for the day, I do a cleanup, and then by the end of the day, it's all messy again. But once I do my cleanup and organize a little bit, then it works out well for me. And with doing the project that I'm working on for that tutorial, I had to come up with a way to be able to photograph quite a bit, as I'm building. So at the back part of my workbench, I put a piece of black foam board and then a black cutting mat that's at the back of the workbench. So that all I had to do is move a couple of things out of the way, put the project that I'm working on there, put my camera on the little mini tripod, and I can snap pictures and, pretend that I'm working on something with my hands to show the technique or whatever for the tutorial. But it's working out okay. I was going to build like a separate photo or a shelf or something to use as a photo booth. But then I said, I got to transfer, what I'm working on over to that and then back. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to, keep the workflow going as well.
Right, exactly.
So-
No, and yeah, and it's funny because like right now the photo, when I have to take pictures of the completed stuff, I just have a blue piece of Bristol board and I put it on top of the freezer and angle it against the wall, and that's what I'm using right now.
Yeah,
And everything else I just shoot on the desk. And yeah, as you say, see, in my case, I'm also it's my workbench, but it's also my computer desk for both office work and for the podcast and that. So yeah, I do have to keep it clean, and occasionally my wife will come down because she's been starting to play around with dollhouse building and furniture building, so she's down here a bit more often. So I think eventually I'm gonna have to carve another desk out for her.
yeah. No, once
so-
I get once the spring comes along and I get I got a display shelf ready to put all my finished models on and everything. Right now it's holding some of my supplies and things like that because I don't have all the shelving and storage that's still over at my friend's place where I was staying for a while.
Right.
Once I get all that moved over, like I have room in my bedroom for all kinds of shelving. So that's where a lot of either finished models or supplies are going to end up, and I'll be a little bit more organized.
Well, like I said, it's whatever works. One of the other things I could also suggest is make sure you invest in good seating. You want your ergonomics. We're all getting a little bit older, believe it or not. And
Well, that's the
yeah.
next thing on my shopping list. Actually, is next Sunday. My friend is bringing me out to Canada Computers, where they have
Oh yeah, they got some nice ones there.
gaming chairs.
Yes, yes.
And the thing is, I had to find something to hold my body weight. Right, and a lot of chairs are not built for big fellows like me. So
right,
they
but some
do
of those
have-
gaming ones are, yeah.
yeah, and it looks reasonably comfortable. And
Well,
then I
make
can
sure
also-
make sure you sit in one. Make sure you got to find something that's comfortable for you.
Oh yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this thing like leans back and does all kinds of different things.
Yeah, you definitely want good ergonomics. This one I've got is not bad, but at some point I can see it's a end of life. One of the other things we should also mention, because both Dave and Bill have it, they have the light arches, but good lighting is very, very important.
Well, I have two clamp-on lamps with LED daylight bulbs.
Yep. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are using
Daylight
now.
bulbs the best, especially when you're painting.
Yes.
Because you can see the colors quite well and what they would look like if you were photographing outside.
I used to, and you used to have to use the aught lights in that. Well, now you can just get regular daylight bulbs. Just get a regular desk lamp and on a mount, and you're good to go. Dave, do you want to describe briefly the arch light you built?
Yeah, so what I did was, you can go on like Amazon and you can buy these LED strips, and it comes with like a built-in switch and dimmer and everything. And you get 16 feet of this self-adhesive LED strip. And they usually give you like the 3M adhesive on the back of these things. So what I did was I just took, I went to Home Depot and I bought, I think it's a 8-foot strip, I think, of this vinyl. It's a vinyl trim stuff you can get there. And so I think this is 6.5, I used 6.5 feet of it. So I cut 18 inches off the end. And then I just got a couple, they sell the aluminum angle you can buy there. It's like a 1/2 by 1/2 or 1 by 1 inch or something. I think it is aluminum angle you can buy there. Yeah, this is half or 3/4 or something. And a piece of that I just cut a couple little strips off of. And then I screwed them down and I screwed this thing to it. So now it's standing up vertical. And then I fastened the angle down to a piece of MDF. This is a piece of 3/4 inch MDF. And I cut the piece of MDF big enough so I think I cut it 25 inches wide. So I can fit a 24, no, it's bigger than that. This is going to be 36. I think I did it 38. So I can fit a 24 by 36 cutting mat in here, and it fits on this piece of MDF, which is basically like a whole bench top. And then I just, I looped it around. You can come around, you can carefully fold it and loop it and come back around again. And it gives you this nice strip of LED light. And when you're in here working on stuff, you don't really see the light getting in your vision at all. So it doesn't, I was afraid it was going to bother me and be too bright, but it's very nice. And this is like, it's dimmable, right? So it's got, I think 3 or 5,
Yeah,
it's
you
got
can
5
adjust it.
different, 5 or 6 different brightnesses on it.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
And so, I mean, the light strips, the light strip was maybe $25 on Amazon. And then, it's like, I don't know, I think it was like $7.99 for the piece of trim, and a 2 by 4 foot piece of MDF is like $15. And a piece of that aluminum stuff is like another like $6 or $7. So, and then I used 3 screws down at the bottom. I'll turn that down a little bit. So down here, there's like 3 screws. So this, isn't gonna want to rock back and forth, right? And it's got 3 screws holding this piece of aluminum trim down. And I just, took the sander at work and I just rounded the edge of the aluminum on there so it didn't have any sharp edges. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I got the idea from a friend down in the States. He built one years ago, and I kept meaning to do it. And then finally I did it. So, and it's funny because I posted it on Twitter and I tagged tested.com in there, and tested.com and Adam Savage and Norm all shared it from the tweet I did on Twitter, which was kind of funny, I thought. So we were talking about workspaces, so I shared this and it got it spread around. Every time I post a picture of my workspace on or something I'm working on Facebook, somebody always asks me where I bought these lights.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I need to. I should do it. I'm going to build a couple more. I think my daughter had one I built for her as well, but I recently gifted it to Peter here in the club. Who doesn't come on the Zoom meetings, but he recently moved into an apartment. He had really poor lighting in there, so it was a little bit of a housewarming gift for him. I gave him one of these, and I traded him for a kit. So I got myself a 72nd scale F14, and which was he felt bad. He says it was worth more than that. Then you're getting a ripoff, and I'm like, no, it's a housewarming gift. So
there you
if
go.
I get a kit out of it, I'm happy, right? So
Perfect. Exactly.
yeah.
Bill, did you have anything else to add about that, or with your experience with it? One of the things I always want to know is do you got, Bill, is when you're working, do you accidentally like move your arm and hit the side of it?
I don't. Yeah, I might have once or twice, but it's not. Mine's a lot narrower because I just don't have the space that David has.
Right.
Difference with mine is I've got mine attached at the sides using a couple of L brackets. So mine actually wraps underneath my workstation. And it's super, I can pick the whole thing up with it. And then I've got my workstation just on a couple of rubber stick-on things, so it sits a little bit above my desk.
Right.
But it's same basic idea. It's just a slightly different execution.
Cool.
I if I had more space, I would really like to have done something wider, but where I am, I just don't have the space.
Yep.
So
Well, it works. You certainly get the light in there and everything. So
yeah.
Cool.
And I don't probably use it as much as Dave uses his, because I spend most of my time with my magnifier. So I'm doing close-up work like cockpits and that. I use that because I can angle it exactly how I want.
Right.
But when I'm working on sort of chassis or fuselages or stuff like that, yeah, then it comes on. Or if I'm trying to match paint colors or that. So I think it's a great idea. Kudos for Dave for sharing the information and not keeping it to himself. which,
That's
you
not how
know,
life works.
you have some guys that will do that,
Yeah,
so.
unfortunately,
Yep.
but yeah, no, Dave's not
No,
one of
no,
them. so.
and it's been absolutely awesome. I love it.
Cool.
It's a great idea. And
Yep.
if I'm ever allowed to graduate to a larger space, I will have a much bigger one.
Well, I trust you. I trust you remembered Valentine's Day was She Who Must Be Obeyed. So that always helps.
Well, no,
Oh dear.
because neither she or myself are much into Hallmark holidays.
Yeah, no, my wife and I, as
Um,
long as I get her
I am
chocolate
one of
every
those
so
ones
often.
that just do things randomly at
Yep.
strange times with no
Yep. Nothing wrong with that.
expectation. So
Nothing wrong with that, mate. Okay, so we talked lighting, we talked ergonomics. Anyone else have any other ones? Any other thoughts or comments or ideas?
I just wanted to thank everybody who actually submitted stuff because we were trying to figure out topics and things to think about. And every time I go on Facebook and look through modeling groups and guys post pictures, I'm always looking in the background to see what their space looks like. Cause I'm always curious, how do you, like, everybody has a slightly different approach. I saw in what we saw tonight, a lot of similarities, similar approaches because we have similar storage needs and similar tool needs. But it was fascinating to see just how different everybody is, and the quality of the work that comes out of everybody's different spaces is really kind of fun to look at too. And
Yep.
George, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Please.
yeah, no, and I thought you guys were just gonna pull the pictures that we posted up on Facebook, so I never sent anything in.
That's
so,
okay. That's all right. You feel free to put some more up on the Facebook
you know,
page.
you can take a look at my mess on Facebook under the messages that we did when we started this.
Yeah.
I thought it was an excellent topic.
Something about photo areas is you were mentioning too, Stuart, is so the way my spray booth is set up, I've got like a big light over top, so it illuminates the spray booth and it shines through like a clear spot on the top. I've got like a big fluorescent light sitting on top. But I took 2 binder clips and I put them up in the back corners of the spray booth. And then I got a roll of like a neutral blue paper at the craft store. And what I do is I can just literally, when I'm done doing a project, I'll just clean the spray booth out because I want to do it every time anyways, right? And then I'll just clip the 2 corners of that roll out. I'll roll it down. I'll put a couple little weights in the corner to hold it in.
Yep.
And I can set my subject in there and I can photograph it. And I get really, really nice quality photographs. And I'm just using my cell phone. I find it's easier now to use a cell phone because I can literally like just tap on the subject in the picture and it adjusts the focus, and then I can instantly use a little slider and adjust the exposure a little bit, right? And I get really nice photos with my phone now, and I'm not fussing around with the camera or anything. Right?
Yeah, that's what I find. I'll occasionally use the tripod, so I'll put the phone on the tripod. But yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And see, for that, I went just 2 weeks ago and on Amazon picked up one of the light boxes.
Very nice.
So it's all enclosed. It's got all the lights in it. It's got the different backgrounds, the reflective interior.
They're great too.
For I think I got it for $70.
Yep.
Why not? Because I can use it to photograph other stuff that Deb does as well. So
yep. Well, and
was one
stuff
of
she's
those,
selling. That's what Alicia uses our old one for.
You can take it to work, Bill. Use it at work.
Oh, geez.
That would be too
only if I
small.
want to get arrested.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know, I've got one of those light cubes too, and I used to use it in the old house. I had it set up. I've got nowhere for it around here right now, but Christy's used it before. She does a lot of like weird photography. She does like water drop photography and stuff like that, right? She has these
Yeah.
timers and all this stuff, and so she's used that a little bit for her water drop photography and that. But I found it was more hassle than anything. But if I had a spot to set it up permanently, I'd probably use it more often, but I just don't, right?
That's
So
my
Sitting
issue.
on the dining room
it was
table.
just dual
Yeah,
purpose. It's
that's my
awesome.
issue.
Perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. Ed, did you have any comment? I see you unmuted yourself there.
Oh, I was just going to make a comment to Jeff's comment for Bill
Oh.
saying, you know what, a lawyer said you can do it, so you're clear.
Yeah, that
Well,
advice and a nickel won't even get you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, no, it's funny. Like I said, one of the big things though, I over the years is the 80-20 rule is a big one. I was so busy. I've got a couple of those IKEA wooden cabinets of like 6 drawers, and I've started sorting things, but I'm still not quite happy with it because again, I find I use some things more often. So for example, the clothespins, they're in the one that's further away, and I really need to move those closer because I find I use those more. So yeah, it's interesting, but again, I fully admit I love tools and I have a problem. You know, the first place I go to at Heritage Con is I don't go to the kits, I go to the tools, and see what else I can collect. So alrighty, any other parting comments?
The only thing I would add to Dave's comment about the using the camera, using the phone camera, I use that for most of mine too for smaller kits, but for long kits, like for example the Discovery from 2001, that's about 3 feet long, 4 feet long. If you want to do if you want to get the front in focus, the back will never be in focus,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I got on Jerry's recommendation, I picked up this thing called an Arsenal. It's a camera, little basic mini computer that sits on top of your like I have a digital SLR that I can use if I want to, but I rarely use it for models. I stick it on top, plug it in, and stick it on a tripod, set it all up, focus on the middle of the thing, and then push a button, and it'll take about 20 pictures focused at every stage of the model, front to back, and then it'll take about 3 minutes, and it'll process them all, combine them all into one image, automatically expose
So you
everything
don't
to
have
the
to do it.
same,
That's nice. Yeah.
and you get this perfectly focused kit from front to back. It's beautiful.
I thought you were
Focus
photo
stacking.
stacking through
Photoshop.
Photoshop or something like that.
It's too much work. Too much
Remember,
work.
guys, he's a lawyer. He's not techie. Yeah. What are we doing?
I'm a lazy bum. Let's put it that way. No, I just love tools too, like Stuart. And this was such a cute, fun idea. It also does great time exposures of star fields. So you
Yeah.
can stick it out overnight and get this fantastic, you pick up, particularly during meteor showers over the lake, you just sort of, you let it go
That'll
all
be
night.
nice. That'll
It's
be
kinda
nice.
fun.
How much did that cost?
It was about $300, but so it wasn't cheap.
No.
But it was fun, and it's worth it. I got some shots I couldn't have got any other way, not conveniently anyway.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap this up, gentlemen. We've lost a few people. It was a good topic tonight. We have one more meeting before Heritage Con, just before that. So again, just a reminder that if you're going to judge, please let Ian know.
And
Yeah.
keep an eye on your emails in case if I hear anything from Duncan, I'll circulate it to the club.
Yeah, we'll do that. So it was good to see everything. So I'm going to turn off the recording now.